It's a semi-arid climate, not a lot of rainfall.
In this area of Texas, we have less surface water than anywhere else in the United States.
This is a heavily irrigated part of the state. Those crops are all very important. Those are things that people are consuming every day.
Water has always been there for us. We tend to forget about the vitalness of this resource until we don't have it anymore.
We're extracting more than we're putting back in. This problem is prevalent across the Great Plains.
It's a landscape that's changed drastically over the last 150 years.
There's 300,000 people in Lubbock County alone.
From both residential water use as well as for irrigation and other purposes, we have areas of the Ogallala Aquifer seeing drastic declines in water to the point where some feel that within the next 50 years, some of the aquifer could be completely dry.
If we're going to have future generations on this land, we have to get our water usage rate in balance with our recharge rate.
The water that people drink in Lubbock comes from recharge through the Playas. So we got to keep these things in good condition to provide water for people.
It is ultimately the cheapest water solution for this region.
I'm Don Call. I'm the Region 1 Migratory Game Bird Specialist. Playas, in essence, are a low spot on a relatively flat landscape where water collects. These clay basins are dependent upon rainfall to fill them, and then water infiltrates through these basins down into the aquifer below. The Ogallala Aquifer is one of the largest aquifers in the world and the largest in North America, and it ranges throughout the western Great Plains into the Texas Panhandle and eastern New Mexico. The water from the Ogallala comes from thousands, if not millions of years of infiltration through playa basins. Some of the threats to these playa systems include outright farming, where they've been broken out and they're actually farmed through and crop production occurs in the basin. Also, with farming, the loss of grass buffers. Short grass prairie has been removed around these playas. And what that does is it leaves those playa basins at threat for sediment buildup. As we build up sediment over the top of the clay soils, it affects the functionality of those playas. There's a lot of threats that have come about to playas in particular. Very important system, both from a wildlife perspective and from an aquifer recharge perspective. The Texas Playa Conservation Initiative began back in 2015. It's a multi-agency, multi-partner initiative that works to restore and conserve playas in the high plains of Texas. We cover parts of 46 counties, so we have a very large area that we work within. Whenever there's no crops growing and the fields are barren, you can really see the playas begin to pop out. Based off of satellite imagery, we actually find playas that fit our criteria for restoration. We're looking for playas that have old pits that were dug into them for irrigation. We can see that there's grass around it, and we can see there's a pit in it, and that pretty much tells us we need to try to contact that landowner. These pins indicate some projects that we've completed. We've got a wealth of potential projects out there. We just need willing landowners to work with us. We wanted this program to be as landowner friendly as possible, and so we cover 100% of the cost of the restoration. We also find the contractor, we hire the contractor, and oversee the contractor, and so there's no work on the landowner's part. And then additionally, we also pay a small one-time incentive payment for working with us and doing conservation on their playas. And so that system has been very popular with landowners that we've worked with. They're very happy to see both the wildlife benefits as well as the water quality and quantity benefits that they see for their wells.
Aquifer recharge under a flat piece of land is going to be less than 1/2 of an inch on an average year. A lot of that water is evaporated or used by plants before it can actually reach the aquifer. So these playa lakes serve as super recharge zones. We experience between 10 to 100 times more recharge, depending on the soils underneath that playa lake.
The dry times, maybe they're not that noticeable, but that dry period is very important because it also serves a very vital function of a playa, which is when it dries up, then cracks form in that lake bottom. And then the next time we do have adequate rainfall and that water does reach that basin, those cracks that have developed since it was dry help really facilitate the infiltration of groundwater. Because it is underground and we don't necessarily see it, monitoring is so very important.
The High Plains Water District goes out annually and measures 1,400 observation wells across the district.
We measure that water level at approximately the same time as the previous year to determine what change has occurred.
The water level is 113.85 feet.
We've been able to observe water level trends over many decades. Certainly over time, the aquifer has exhibited some decline, but that's where we see our job of conservation and informing people about stewardship is very important.
The threat to the Ogallala has led to folks rethinking the value of playas.
Somebody tried to plow through this and farm through this, and so we just kind of let the weeds and grasses come back, just trying to take this land back to nature. This is a playa lake that's in the restoration process. It's not complete. Part of it is sedimented over. You can see that berm because that was once farmed. Getting as many of those lakes restored back to their original function is extremely beneficial, because if you don't do that, those are gallons of free water that aren't available. Those are wildlife areas that are not available for the wildlife that travels through here.
Playa lakes are known as Biodiversity Centers, and that's everything from amphibians and toads to sandhill cranes, waterfowl. Basically, in an arid landscape, these features provide water for all the wildlife. The playas go from Texas all the way to Nebraska. That's the central flyway. That's the migratory path. They're hosting a couple million waterfowl during migration, and then over the winter they'll hold 1.5 million waterfowl. So very, very important resource.
If we can enhance the water holding capacity of the land with the native grasses and still be able to crop on that land with no-till technology, then when a raindrop falls on the earth, maybe we can catch 90% of it in the field and 10% of it goes to the lake, and hopefully that lake is functioning properly to where we catch a very high percentage of that 10%. We get some wildlife benefit of water on the lake, so the wildlife have a place to land, and it encourages that natural biodiversity also. That is ultimately what we're shooting for, is to balance our ecology with our economics.
I grew up hunting waterfowl in the Midwest and came to the high plains of Texas and saw these playas and really enjoy the habitat that they provide and the ducks that they draw. My wife and I started a family here, and so knowing the threats to our water, whether that's water quality or quantity, this work from a water perspective is pretty important to me. In the fall and the winter, these playas are incredible. You could come to a playa and potentially have tens of thousands of waterfowl. It's very impressive, and it's something to behold. Folks are beginning to buy in and beginning to become more excited about playa restoration and conservation, and that's very exciting for us.